If you're one of the many individuals that followed Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign, then you were probably already expecting the media to pounce as soon as he announced that he was running again in 2020. And like stank on shit, they were right there as soon as he announced. In fact, even before Bernie Sanders announced, once he was hinting that he might run again back in December of last year, they were already trying to convince us that Bernie Sanders had lost his 2016 mojo, or that Beto was the new Bernie. And the day he announced, we had this gem from the Washington Post. Bernie Sanders is probably just another one-hit wonder. Despite running second in most early polls, Sanders is likely to find that he can't recapture the magic once he goes back out on tour. We also had another Washington Post columnist assure us that Bernie Sanders' time has come and gone. Except if you fast forward just a couple of hours after these articles were published, they learned that that wasn't the case. Because Bernie Sanders isn't a one-hit wonder. His mojo certainly isn't gone, and neither is the magic, because we all learned that Bernie Sanders managed to raise $6 million within the first 24 hours. So everything that they told us would happen, or more specifically, wouldn't happen with regards to Bernie, it happened. He raised $6 million, and you have to understand why that's so important. That's the metric that they use, people in DC use, to gauge just how viable a political candidate is. But after he raises millions of dollars and proves them all wrong, well, now what are they going to say, seeing that he should theoretically be successful by their own standards? This is what they're saying. Why Sanders' money haul doesn't mean very much. For someone with nearly universal name recognition, an extensive donor list, and a long run-up to his announcement, Sanders' haul shouldn't impress knowledgeable political watchers. Should Joe Biden announce, I bet his 24-hour fundraising total will dwarf Sanders' total. A former vice president shouldn't have to lift a finger to trigger a flood of money. They are consistently moving the goalpost, all to try to downplay Bernie Sanders and undermine him. Because at first, his mojo's gone, guys. There's no there. Turns out that was wrong, and he just raised $6 million within the first 24 hours. Well, that's not a big deal, because Joe Biden can probably outraise him. They're always going to come up with some reason as to why Bernie Sanders isn't viable, and why he's not a credible candidate, and why he should just go away forever and hide his face. But you see, the problem with all of these comically bad takes is that they are clearly getting desperate, and they are now wearing that desperation on their sleeves. Because you can't possibly try to pee on our legs and tell us it's raining. You can't possibly say that there's no there when there's clearly a there. Hell, even Chuck Todd recognizes what is happening right now. He may not understand it fully, but he at least sees that something is going on that everyone else in the mainstream media is failing to recognize.
In his campaign's first 24 hours, officially, Sanders recorded nearly $6 million in donations from more than 250,000 individuals in all 50 states. $6 million in 24 hours. The average donation, $27.
$27. $27. $27. $27.
The Sanders campaign also says it has commitments for $600,000 in recurring monthly donations, which is bad news for any presidential contender who hopes Sanders 2020 would be a shadow of the Sanders 2016 effort.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't downplay that if you want to be taken seriously. Raising $6 million in 24 hours is astonishing. It's an amazing feat for any presidential candidate. But Bernie Sanders did it all from small donors, with the average being $27 per person. So what are they doing after seeing the success that was the launch of Bernie's 2020 campaign now? Well, as Walker Bragman puts it, they're trying to bargain with us. And as one columnist for The Guardian asks, why vote for Sanders when you can have Elizabeth Warren instead? Look, I see that you guys are still super excited about Bernie, but don't you want this new, shiny progressive here that we're trying to dangle in front of you? I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, we love Elizabeth Warren as progressives, but I mean, I don't know. Why would we want to have Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren? The same reason why we'd prefer Nikes over Crocs. The same reason why we'd prefer Beats by Dre over Deets by Nani. It's because Bernie Sanders is the real deal and Elizabeth Warren is the generic brand. She's the backup singer, okay? They need to understand this. Bernie Sanders is Michael Jackson. Elizabeth Warren is Tito. Bernie Sanders is Justin Timberlake. Elizabeth Warren is Joey Fatone. Bernie Sanders is Kendrick Lamar. Elizabeth Warren is Lil Pump. Bernie Sanders is Beyonce. Elizabeth Warren is Kelly Rowland. I can go on and on. Bernie Sanders is Mario. Elizabeth Warren is Luigi. Bernie Sanders is Christian Bale Batman. Elizabeth Warren is Ben Affleck. Bernie Sanders is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Elizabeth Warren is DC. Bernie Sanders is Terminator 2. Elizabeth Warren is Terminator 1. Oh, I don't know why this is so much fun, but I'm really enjoying myself here.
2 hours later.
I think you get the point. But do you understand? They're trying to bargain with us now. They're trying to get us to go for the pseudo Bernie as opposed to the real Bernie. And as this Quartz article argues, Bernie Sanders fights a sea of better Bernies for 2020. You know how all of you progressives just love Bernie Sanders so much? Well, what if I told you, get this, that there was someone else out there who's not Bernie Sanders, but is instead copying everything that Bernie Sanders is saying and doing? Why don't you want that instead? So I don't think that they realize what they're doing here. They're tacitly admitting that Bernie Sanders is the standard bearer for American political progressivism. He is the representative of the modern American left. But wait, because as this political columnist asks, can Bernie Sanders survive the modern left? I know what you're thinking. This is ridiculous because Bernie Sanders is the embodiment of the modern left, right? Well, in this article, it goes on to quote rich limousine liberals like Stephen Colbert, who ripped Bernie Sanders for being an old white man, and also Neera Tanden, who incorrectly claimed that Bernie Sanders stated that people's identities don't matter. He never said that. And what's interesting is that the article makes no mention of the fact that numerous polls now show that Bernie Sanders actually has the highest approval rating among women and among marginalized minorities. But, I mean, he's an old white man, so you shouldn't like him. It's almost as if, I mean, it seems to me anyways, that this entire Bernie bro narrative was something that was fabricated and constructed by Democratic Party elites, all to distract us away from the fact that Bernie Sanders was performing exceptionally well back in 2016 among millennials. And maybe they're doing this to try to turn off minority voters. Oh wait, it seems like that because that's literally what's happening here. But unfortunately for them, that's just not going to work anymore because Bernie's mostly female, mostly POC base is speaking out on Twitter. They're demanding now that they not be erased, and for all the people who perpetuate this false Bernie bro narrative to stop insinuating that his base is exclusively straight white males. But in spite of all of that, they still want you to believe that because he's old and white, well, his base must also be old and white as well. That is factually incorrect, and by doing that, you are perpetuating racism and sexism that you often speak out against. You're erasing the visibility of millions of women and people of color and LGBTQ people like myself who actually believe in Bernie Sanders' message. But the reason why they keep trying to perpetuate this myth and this false narrative really is because it serves their interests. Now, in spite of all of everything that's been happening, in spite of what's transpired since Bernie Sanders announced that he's running for president again, the media still wants you to think that this Bernie thing probably isn't going to go anywhere. In fact, one CNN personality in particular, Chris Cillizza, He doesn't think that Bernie Sanders can pull it off, and I'm going to play you a video demonstrating why he thinks that's the case, and one of the arguments he's going to use here is one of the dumbest arguments ever. But he's not a Democrat, as if people care about that. Well, you know, I'd love to have Medicare for all for my family, but I just don't know if I could swallow that pill that is voting for someone who's not a Democrat. I'd love to have a $15 minimum wage so I can pay my rent, but I mean, Bernie's not a Democrat, so I don't know if I could vote for that. I mean, they're so out of touch. Now, before I play the Chris Cillizza clip for you, just for shits and giggles, if you had to guess what the like to dislike ratio would be on that video, just take a moment to guess before I show you. Take a moment. It is absolutely fucking insane. It looks like people just don't appreciate obvious political hackery. But with that being said, getting to the clip, Chris is going to tell you that this Bernie thing isn't going to happen and that all the media bias, they're actually right because Bernie's not a Democrat.
Now in 2016, the fact that Sanders was a Democrat for convenience never was much of an issue. Clinton ignored Sanders for, honestly, most of the race, and when she did attack him, it was on his voting record on guns and how his support for a single-payer healthcare system could mess up the Affordable Care Act. She didn't talk a lot about his party affiliation. But in 2020, voters will have to ask themselves this question. With lots of people running for the Democratic nomination who have been lifelong Democrats, is it worth voting for a guy who, by his own admission, is taking on the cloak of being a Democrat because he knows he can't win as an independent candidate for president? It's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe Democratic voters don't care. Maybe they dated Bernie in 2016, but are going to marry him, politically speaking, in 2020. But count me as skeptical. It's hard to find lightning in the same bottle twice.
I see. So he's just going to pretend that Bernie Sanders didn't just raise $6 million in the first day. He's going to pretend that hundreds of thousands of people haven't already signed up to volunteer for Bernie. Okay. That seems to be what they are going to try to do. Just ignore the facts. This wouldn't be new. But what's very clear is that they will never take Bernie Sanders seriously. And no matter how well he does, they're going to be trying to downplay Bernie Sanders because this is what behooves them. Because if they downplay Bernie Sanders, maybe they can get you demoralized into thinking that voting for him probably isn't really your best choice. You should vote for someone who's actually going to win. That's their goal. And it's also not a coincidence that the same large multinational corporations that run advertisements on all of these mainstream news outlets that are attacking Bernie Sanders are the same donors to the political class that Bernie Sanders is threatening to take on. And it also doesn't help that Bernie Sanders threatens the status quo, and they're all in that DC elitist bubble. So they can't hear and see what we all see. They don't know what's right in front of their face. They can't comprehend it. They missed what was happening with Donald Trump. They missed Bernie in 2016, and they're going to miss it again. They're not going to realize what this is until it's too late for them. But that's fine for us, because I think that we don't really have to prove ourselves any longer. Bernie doesn't have to prove himself any longer. We just have to organize, fight, and win. They're going to continue attacking Bernie in the United States, and in the UK, they're going to continue attacking Jeremy Corbyn, and they want you to think that there's no there, as I put it. So, I mean, look, these hit pieces were 100% expected. And this is all a coordinated attempt to downplay the phenomenon that is Bernie 2020. But all that we can do is continue supporting Bernie Sanders and pushing back against these false narratives, but let them downplay Bernie Sanders. Because if they underestimate Bernie Sanders, then it's just going to be that much more sweet when we prove them wrong and he becomes the nominee and ultimately the president. Keep doing what you're doing, MSM, because you're only delegitimizing yourselves in the process and proving to average, normal Americans how out of touch you are. Bernie Sanders is Blastoise, Elizabeth Warren is Squirtle.